Hello again, and welcome back to MYST. Tonight, we're going to be exploring the mechanical age. This part might end up being a little shorter than the previous videos, because the mechanical age is pretty small and short. It only has a couple puzzles on it, and there isn't a whole lot to explore. So this will probably end up being the shortest of all the videos so far. We can see in front of us the fortress that was described by Atris in his journal, and we are standing on one of the islands that was originally the top of a hill before the water level rose. We can see over here we've got some kind of device with buttons on it. You can press the buttons to change the symbols, and then there's a big red button, but it doesn't do anything right now. And there's this here. If you remember, in the journal there was a diagram of something that looked like this. It was built by Cirrus and Achenar, according to Atris. And we can see the other islands there in the back. There is no island on this side, but there is an island there. And so here we've got the fortress, the mechanical fortress, that Atris and the survivors built to survive the attack from the black ships. So we've got a fork in the road. Which way do we want to go? Let's start with the left. We've got a hallway with some lights. And here we've got that familiar tune and a lavishly decorated room, which means this probably belonged to Cirrus. He's got some paintings on the walls. I believe these are actual paintings that were just used for the game. We've got some strange devices here. Nothing happens if you click on them, but if you highlight over them, they light up in different colors. We've got a clock here, pretty nice looking. Looks kind of like the clock tower on MYST. In fact, I think you can see the letters MYST there, but it's hard to tell because the resolution is low. And we've got a ship, kind of like the one on MYST, and a spaceship, also like the one on MYST. If we look up here, we've got another painting. And let's look through the telescope. But there isn't really anything to see, and we can't scroll this one like the telescope on Stone Ship. Let's turn around here. We've got a nice tapestry here. A toy, it seems like. Let's crank it up. Not really sure why Cirrus had this, but I guess it's pretty entertaining, so. And let's see what else we've got. He's got a throne here. Seems to be made of marble or some kind of stone like that. A mini chessboard, or if not chess, some other kind of game that's played on a chess-like board. And can we sit in the chair? We can. We can sit in the throne. Okay, let's get up from the throne. And that seems to be everything in here, but usually there is a page in the room belonging to the brother. But we've not found the page yet, so let's look a little closer. And if we look over here, you can very slightly see hiding behind the corner of the tapestry here. There is a indentation in the wall. If we click it, we open up a secret compartment. And let's go in. It looks like this is where Cirrus keeps his riches. If we look over here in a chest of gold, we can see the red page. Let's pick it up. And we've got some wine here. We saw in another age that Cirrus enjoys his wine. And over here there is a scroll. Let's click on it. Cirrus, your greed sickens me. Your desire for wealth and plunder is never satisfied. I will instruct my subjects not to pay your new tax, and you know they'll listen to me. Regards, Akinar. Okay, looks like Cirrus has been raising the taxes to exploit the citizens of this age. Or at least that's what Akinar is claiming. And I mean, we kind of found the golden riches to prove it, so. Right here, we've got a button. The button lowers a staircase here, but before we go down there, let's click the button again. And see what's over here. And it seems to be nothing. We can't go around this like the elevator in the tower. Clicking it doesn't do anything. So, let's push the button again. Let's head into this basement here. We've got some kind of mechanism here. When we hold the lever down, it spins this gear, and you can see that when they line up, it turns red like that. So let's go back up the stairs. And if we turn around now, we can see something opened up across the way. So let's raise the path back up. We'll go across, and it is an elevator. Can't go down. If we click this middle button, it takes us somewhere we can't get out. There's nothing we can do here. Let's click the up button. Okay, we go up a floor, and if we click up again, we're at the top floor. So there's 2 floors. Pressing down takes us to the bottom floor, pressing up takes us to the top floor, and pressing the middle button puts us in between the floors. Let's see what's up in this top floor. Again, we can't go around the elevator. There is an arrow pointing up here. Let's look up. We can see something up there. It looks like another mechanism, but we can't reach it because it's up there. Well, let's press this middle button again, and now it's beeping. And if we wait long enough, the elevator closes and goes down into the middle again. So let's go back to the top. Now let's press the middle button, and then let's get out of the elevator. And now we can access this mechanism on top of the elevator. We've got 2 levers. Let's move the left lever. Didn't seem to do anything. This gear here moved briefly, but let's pull the lever back down, and then a sound played. We pull the lever up and put it back down, a sound plays again. The right lever doesn't do anything. Now let's raise the left lever again, and now let's do the right lever, and now the gears start turning. And if we let go, the gears stop turning. And now let's put the left lever down again, and it played a different sound. So we haven't really figured out exactly what this mechanism is doing, but it's clearly doing something. So let's investigate the fortress a little more, and we'll come back to this in a bit. And that button raises the elevator back up so we can get back in it. So let's go down. And we'll go back across, and we came from the left, so let's go to the right. And here we have another room. It looks pretty characteristic of Akinar's style. So this must be Akinar's room. We've got, looks like a pelt on the wall. We've got a sword and a helmet over here on top of a chest. And instead of fine art, he has some kind of head mounted on the wall, some swords. No telescope. The window has been shut by a curtain. We've got some more weapons hanging on the wall. Looks like a bow here and some maces here. And we've got a contraption here. Let's turn the crank. And it looks like some kind of jack-in-the-box with a snake in it. And nothing else we can interact with here. And over here we've got a strange device. We click on it. It's making a sound. Fortress Rotation Simulator. Calibrating. And remember, Atris's journal said something about a holographic device that would help the survivors learn how to use the fortress. So here we've got a simulator. Let's put a little, we'll graph this out here. So we've got a circle, and we've got these little triangles on each side. And we've got like another smaller circle here. And there's a little pin coming down like that. And so these are the same levers that we saw on top of the fortress. So looks like this is the same sort of thing. And if we do that, we hear the same sound that we heard before. And now let's do it again. We turn this, and now we can actually see what's going on. When we pull the second lever, we're actually rotating this pin, which represents rotating the entire fortress. And then if we turn this down, we see that it locks in to this direction when we lower the left lever. And then it plays a different sound. And then we do the same thing again. We lock it in, and then it plays a different sound. And that's the sound we heard before. And let's do it again. A different sound again. And then we come back to this one, and it's back to this sound again. So these are the 4 directions that the fortress can face, and you can tell which direction the fortress is facing based on the sound that is made when you lock it in. So it's a little hard to describe these sounds in words, but I'm just going to call them, I'm going to call the south one the bell, and let's go to the east. The east one I call the, it sounds like steam, like a burst of steam. And then let's go to the north. And to the north we have a beep. Let's put beep. And finally, to the west we have kind of a weird sound to describe. I usually call it the twist, because it sounds kind of like if you've ever used a bop it, you ever used to play with a bop it, it kind of sounds like the twist it. The twisted sound, so I just call it the twist. So there we go. We've mapped out all 4 directions. So when we started out, it played the bell. So the initial direction that the fortress was facing to the south, that means the south. I should have put this more over here, but the south was the entrance. And then there was an island over here to the east. And if I put this down, if I was smarter, I would have put this in the center so we could label the west and north sides. But there was nothing to the west, and this was the sound that was playing when we locked in before. So the fortress is currently facing the north. So we'll go outside and see if there's anything to the north in a second. But let's finish exploring Akinar's room here. And just like in Sirius's room, we can see indented in the wall, there's a panel. We'll click that in a second. Let's first get him Akinar's throne as well. We gotta sit in the throne just for a second. Okay. Let's open up this panel in the wall. Akinar's is not as well hidden as Sirius's. And let's go in. And what do we have going on in here? We've got a cage with a switch on it. It's an electric cage. Very pleasant. So fitting with what we know of Akinar, he seems to be kind of cruel and disturbed. And we've got more of these poisons, or we saw these sort of vials with skulls on them in the Stone Ship age as well. And we've got his page down here. Let's take his page. We'll come back and get Sirius's later. And we've got a box here. If we open the box, we can see a severed head, it appears. So, very pleasant. And then we've got a cleaver over here on a block with, I'm sure that's cranberry juice, I'm sure. Alright, that's enough of this room. Let's get the heck out of here. Okay. So let's go back this way. Leads back to the front entrance of the fortress. So we are facing the north. There's an island to the north. We can see the island to the east here. That's this island. And then on the other side, to the south, is the entrance. So let's take a look. This is a pretty small island. It just seems to have one thing on it. It's a gear. And we've got two symbols here. And these are the symbols that we saw on that contraption on the entrance island. So we've got this little piece of, I call this one the macaroni. And then we've got two triangles and a rectangle. So, okay. We've got half of the code, but we still need the other half. Let's go back in the fortress. And now we need to reach that last island. This is Sirius's room again. We're going to ignore it. So we need to face the east, which was the steam sound. So let's go back to the top of the fortress. Click the middle button again. Wait for the elevator to go back down. And now let's try to get it to play that steam sound. That's the south. There we go. We're now facing the east. So we'll go back to the entrance of the fortress. And let's go through Akinar's room again and out the front. And here we are on the East Island. I like this island. I like this kind of architecture. It's pretty cool. And we've got another one of these cogs with the last two symbols on it. So we've got this circle. Looks like the circle is sitting on spikes, little triangles. And then we've got the half moon shape. So these are the last two symbols. So with that, we've got all four symbols. We should be able to open that contraption that was at the island. But we have to go to the top of the fortress one last time to turn it back to the south so that we can get there. And let's just skip this animation here. So now we're going to be trying to listen for the bell sound. that's the beep. We're facing the north. There's the twist. We're facing the west. And there's the bell. We're now facing the south again, back where we started. So let's go back down. Skip this animation because we've already seen it many times. And let's head back to the entrance. And here we are. Let's put in the code. So first we have the macaroni, then the two triangles with the rectangle in the middle, then we had the circle sitting on top of the spikes, and then finally we had the half moon. There we go. Let's press the red button. We lower the stairs into a secret chamber in which there is a MYST book to take us back to the island of MYST. So, let's give Akinar his page and see what he has to say.
Oh, my friend. Bring in the blue pages. I see. Convinced Cirrus is guilty. Pray, do not release him. He will destroy me, just as he did. Innocent bystander. I've been wrongfully tricked into imprisonment. You have observed his unbridled lust for riches. In the 4 remaining worlds. Some plot. It was almost perfect. Final blow to father. You tricked him into believing that it was I who was the murderer. I didn't murder father. Bring me the remaining. Please. Liar. What in a liar? Must not be free. What? The remaining blue pages from the last age of MYST. I must be free. You must free me. I cannot bear it here for eternity. Free me.
Okay, reiterating his story that Cirrus murdered their father, Atreus, and tricked, I guess somehow tricked their father into saying that it was him, even though he killed him. I don't know how that really works, honestly. I guess as he was dying. Anyways, let's go to the gear again, and we'll go get Cirrus's page. And this should be a quick in and out, because we don't have to turn the fortress again. We already have the exit code, so all we have to do is go into Cirrus's room, go grab the page, and bring it back out. So this should only take a few seconds. So let's go in. Grab the page. Back out we go. Hit the button again. Bring the stairs back down. And back into the secret chamber. Use the book. And let's give Cirrus the page and see what he's got to say.
With each page I can see more clearly. Soon, free from this horrible prison. This book. You must visit the one remaining age. You have not confidence that my brother Akina is demented. He is guilty. He took advantage of the freedom our father had given us. Akina begins it. I ask you again. Do not retreat with the pages. He will destroy both myself and you, just as he destroyed the other pages of MYST. Never will escape. You must simply bring the red. The story that I, your wisdom, you will see that I am innocent and he is guilty. I will owe you my life and you will be greatly rewarded.
Okay. So Sirius's story is that Atris started to give them free access to the books, and Akinar took advantage of that and ended up ruining them. To be honest, to me, that story sounds a little more believable than whatever Akinar was cooking, but no. So we've got one more age remaining, as Sirius said, and it's time to finally stop teasing and go to the spaceship. So, we turn the tower to face the spaceship. Let's open up the secret passage again. And let's go down the secret passage into the elevator again. And we go up. The tower is now facing the spaceship. Let's go back down around the back of the elevator. And the access key is, I'm actually not going to flip back to the MYST page, we'll just do it on this page. 59 volts. If you remembered from the first video, we messed around with a bunch of the stuff on the island. You might remember what this is for. There was a generator in a cabin where we could mess with the buttons there to set the voltage. So we will be going back there shortly, but first, as you might be expecting, we are going to read from our final book. This is going to be the last reading of the playthrough, and we will be reading the journal for the final age. It has been a while since I have heard only silence, and I enjoy it greatly, I think. For some reason, I do not feel altogether welcome in this new world in which I have arrived. But how could I be unwelcome in an age with no inhabitants? It is, of course, only in my head. This world is very beautiful, but I think I have yet to ever write in a journal that an age I have linked to is horrid or disgusting. From the grassy hill where I am standing, I can see green fields below, along with a few scattered forests. A rather large lake looms some distance from where I am standing, yet the water's blue can be seen plainly from here. The air is fresh and the sky is sparkled with white clouds. It is absolutely breathtaking, and yet, that strange feeling again. Perhaps it is the hot breeze that continues to blow from the north. Hotter than I would have imagined, it almost singes my skin, and I feel quite uncomfortable when it comes. I will try to ignore it. Night has almost arrived, and the sunset is spectacular. Oranges and reds have settled above the western horizon. Though night has come, the horizon still glows red long past the sunset. Dark reds flow from the horizon and blend into the black sky. Again the feeling, and I am beginning to believe it is not all in my mind. I must sleep now. I will need my strength to explore more tomorrow. I have had to return home due to an unpredictable natural occurrence more frightening than I have ever experienced. I was awakened by terrible shakings in the ground and explosions on all sides of me. Gigantic balls of fire were falling from the sky, and I immediately left in fear of my life. I must remember to bring a MYST linking book with me when I return, in case the one I left there has been destroyed or damaged. I have returned to a different world than the one I left only 3 months ago. It has been transformed into a barren desert land with only gigantic craters scattered across the land to provide variety. Strangely enough, the small grassy hill where I spent my first night remains exactly the way I found it. Apparently, the falling meteors did not hit this area, leaving an oasis in the midst of this horrible desolation. The hot wind I remember has turned into a rather pleasant breeze, which is at least one improvement. I fear it is the only improvement. The magnificent lake I saw on my first visit is now completely dried up. However, another lake now exists and appears to be quite a bit larger. I assume one of the falling meteors created this lake due to its circular shape and the jutting rock that grows out of the center of the lake. The rest of this world seems like desert, although I will verify that statement with closer inspection. Though this world has little visual excitement to offer, it offers much to the ears. Sounds constantly flow through my ears, and I have found where a few of them originate. It seems, as Catherine says, I do find beauty in everything. Last night I was awakened by a horrible hissing. I was sweating, and the heat was so intense that I immediately dipped my head in a nearby stream to cool it down. The hot breezes have returned, along with a low roar from the ground. I walked a short distance to observe some red flames shooting up from the earth. Suddenly, the ground began to crack, and a huge chasm opened. The chasm continued to grow until it was far too wide to cross. Then the tumult subsided, leaving only a dull roar. I have decided, however, I can use the chasm to my advantage. Perhaps the heat from the cavern can be harnessed. Even as the chasm has ripped into the surface of this world, it has opened up a whole new world to explore. Although uncomfortably hot, I found it possible to reach a cave in the chasm that had been created, and have now explored deep into the crust of this planet. I have found a vast underground cave system that will take many years to map and explore. I will also look for a safer way to reach the underground than through the chasm wall. This age seems to change on its own, so I feel I should leave again and see if things are different when I return. It is also important that I check on Cirrus and Akinar and make sure everything is going along well. When I return, I also hope to bring back some tools I will need for my plans to explore the underground. The abundance of raw materials here is beginning to amaze me. I have returned with some of the complex tools I knew I would be needing. I assumed I would have to return for more basic materials. However, it seems as though I will be able to find everything I need here. Of course, iron is abundant, but I have also found titanium occurring naturally. I am all the more excited to begin work. Everything is set, and I look forward to tomorrow. My raw materials are all here. I think I will be able to have most of my additions to this age completed within 1 year. I so love working with my hands, whether writing or building. It looks like the ink has started to fade on these pages. We can see some bits of text well, and I have decided 3 meters is not enough support for the unintelligible. Amazingly strong. We can see a drawing of the spaceship. To be one of my most prized inventions, I am extremely, would never have imagined it to come together. I doubt could possibly work with 14 instead. Completely fatigued, I am so happy to have completed tomorrow. I'm leaving today in order to bring back Cirrus and Achenar. I have left them alone in Channelwood. I believe they will enjoy all there is to see here. The age seems to have stabilized. I believe the meteors set off a period of volcanic activity by piercing into the shallow crust, but the tremors have become few. I have just noticed that a large amount of this journal has curiously vanished from the very pages on which I wrote over the last 18 months. Fortunately, I have copied many of my construction notes in another journal. I do not understand the many mysteries of this world, but I trust I will discover logical answers to my questions. I have a feeling that many of my questions can be answered in another age, to which I hope to travel soon. But for now, I must simply accept this world's mysteries and take pride in my accomplishments. And here we've got a piano with 5 keys marked. Instead of drawing out the whole piano, I'm just going to write down the notes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 is C, we'll say C1. 2 is C2. And then we've got C, D, D sharp. Then 4 is, I believe that's C, D, E, F. And then this is A sharp, I think. I'm not a musician or a piano player, so. But I think that's correct. And we can see here a map of the age. We will be seeing this pretty soon. And that's all there is in this journal. So, let's go to the access key. So the access key was 59 volts. And if you remember before, we overloaded the generator and we had to go hit the circuit breaker, but I actually remembered that if we go down here and we start flipping the switches again, it's actually still not getting power. That's because there are actually 2 circuit breakers. I forgot about one of them last time. So we already hit the one over by the spaceship. There's another one back here. It's hard to see, but there's a little passage to the right of the cabin. And if you pull the circuit breaker, that sound means that we've reset the circuits. And now we can head back down. So we need 59 volts, and each of these buttons has a different amount of voltage. So let's individually label the buttons. So there are 10 buttons, 2 rows, or 2 columns of 5. So this is 10. That is 1. That is 7. That is 2. We've got 8. And 22. 16. 19, 5, and 9. So we need to add up to 59. So what if we did 22, 30, 46? I can't do basic math. 22, 30, 46, 51, and then 58, 59. So we do 22, 30, 46, 51, 58, and 59. So we do. There we go. So let's go over to the spaceship. And there's actually many different ways you can solve that puzzle. There are a lot of combinations that work. You don't have to do just the one that I did. And let's click the door. It opens up. We've got a device here with some levers that make noise. When we pull this, it plays a little tune, but we need to figure out what tune to play, and here we've got a piano. And so if we push the buttons on the piano, it plays notes. This is one of those puzzles that's pretty hard to figure out if you're hard of hearing or tone deaf. So I think the newer versions of the game, the remake, changed these puzzles, but this game came out in 1993 when developers weren't thinking about accessibility as much. But we have to play the notes that we saw in the book. So we've got C. So let's go to the device, switch this to C. It's this one. The next one was C2. That one. That's the note. Then we've got... Okay, so I realized that I wrote B sharp on accident. B sharp does not exist. So I went back and double checked the book and it was actually D sharp. I told you I'm not a musician or a piano player, so... Anyways, D sharp right here. So let's go back to... There's the D sharp. And next was F, which I believe is this one. There it is. And the last note was A sharp, which is this. And now we pull the lever. And we see a book on the screen. Let's click on the screen. And we see a flyby of the next age. This is kind of interesting because instead of being a physical book, it's, I guess you could say, an e-book. A linking e-book. Okay, let's link in. And here we are on the final age. We can't use the piano anymore. The final age, the Selenitic age, and we will be exploring the Selenitic age in the next video. So, thank you so much for watching and following this series. I hope you're all enjoying it. I'm having a great time doing it. I love this game. So, the next video I upload on my channel should be the next part of the playing Tri-Peak Solitaire with every deck in my card collection. So we'll be looking at more card decks. And to give a little sneak preview, here's one of the decks that I got recently. It is an Avatar, The Last Airbender deck. I love that show. But we'll get into this deck in the next video. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great night, and I'll see you in the next MYST part.